And overall, this is the route that we went. So we actually did stop in Fort Worth, which is cool. And since I'm a stats guy, I want to rattle off some of the places that we went to. We ended up traveling 16,000 miles, went to 38 states, 120 days on the road. We stayed with 50 different host families, including, but not limited to, my great aunt, who's in Seattle, who also has the name Pinky, which, you know, a little weird. We stayed with my friend's ex-girlfriend's friend in Nashville through a Facebook status update. So we posted a status like, hey, we need a place to crash in Nashville, and my friend's ex-girlfriend's friend came through. We also interviewed some really cool people. We went to some cool places. You mentioned it in the whole bio. We went to Microsoft, Nike, Playboy, Chicago Cubs. Like, I'm a big baseball fan, so we went to like a lot of different baseball stadiums, interviewed people that were working in sports. We stopped by like small places. We went to living rooms of entrepreneurs. We went to a prison. We spent some time in prison. Interviewed a warden, not like us like doing things illegal, but whatever. We went to a goat farm, which I know you guys got the stock show this week out here in Fort Worth, and we spent some time with some painting goats, so I'm pretty knowledgeable about that. So yeah, we went to some cool places, and we interviewed some cool people. We interviewed a doctor, a lawyer, accountant. We interviewed entrepreneurs. We interviewed a footwear designer. We interviewed like just people in all different types of walks of life. 300 interviews total. And when we got back from the tour, what I did was I transcribed every word that was spoken to us that we caught on videotape, which took me like 6 months. That's a long time to sit in front of a computer, type out every word that you were said. And over that time, like my job and my goal was to evaluate what was said to us and find some commonalities between what people said, so that you could actually find passion and work. And so what I want to do right now is go over the 3 things that I kind of found between all these interviews and all the commonalities that people had in their pursuit to find a job that they really enjoyed. So kind of the 3 things that people do to get what they want, because I think that's pretty accurate. And those 3 things are ownership, risk, and hard work. So ownership, risk, and hard work, I'm going to go into each one of those and help you guys understand that, where I'm coming from. So ownership. So when I think of ownership, I think of it as a definition to create the environment that you want through the actions that you take. So it's really easy to let your environment kind of dictate where your life's going to go, like depending on your major or your school or your parents. There's like so many environmental factors that go into where you ultimately end up. But ownership is the decision, the conscious decision of like, hey, this is what I'm going to do, and I don't care what anyone else says, and this is what where I'm going to go. And for me, it was like, hey, I want to take a road trip across the country, and found a little startup and whatever, and that decision and that purchase of the domain name, the purchase of the RV, like all those different things were just taking ownership on that idea. So one of the people that I think really displayed a lot of ownership in his whole career journey was this guy named Dwayne Edwards. And we interviewed him, and he shared this really incredible story with us, and I want to share it with you. He basically, when he was in high school, as a freshman, he enrolled in this art class. And within 3 weeks, he was kicked out of this art class because his skills were better than the teacher. So they advanced him to this computer drafting class and sent him on his way. His senior year, he decided that he wanted to go to footwear design school. And so he went to his career counselor and was like, hey, I really want to go to this footwear design school. Can you help me out? And she said, well, Dwayne, you're a young black kid from Inglewood, and I think a much better decision for you would be to go to the Army instead of go to this footwear design school. And he's like, you know what? That doesn't really sit with me too well. Thanks for the advice. So he started looking in the classified ads for footwear design jobs, and found this little small ad that Reebok had put in there for a national footwear design competition. And so at 17 years old, Dwayne entered this national footwear design competition, sketched out a shoe, mailed it in to Reebok, ended up winning it, national footwear design competition. So Reebok calls him up. It's like, hey, Dwayne, awesome shoe. Congratulations, you're the winner. How old are you? He's like, well, I'm 17. And they're like, oh, wow, well, we didn't know that. You got to be 18 to be considered or whatever, and, we're sorry. And so, like, he wins the competition, but then gets it revoked and doesn't get an internship, doesn't, get, an open invitation for Reebok to come back. Like, had all these different roadblocks along the way. And so he ended up working at this place called Account Temps, which is like a temporary accounting staffing firm where if you have some accounting work to be done, you call up this agency and they staff you temporarily with workers. So he was working there as like a file clerk, and one of his buddies got called up to work at LA Gear. And LA Gear, back when they had the light bright shoes, you guys remember those? Pretty sweet. So his buddy got called up to work at LA Gear but couldn't find it. So Dwayne ended up going to work there. And the very first thing that he sees is this suggestion box in the lobby. And he goes up to it, gets a little piece of paper, designs a shoe, writes "hire me" on it, and puts it in the suggestion box. And does this every day for 6 months. Every day when he goes in, the very first thing that he does, suggestion, that designs a shoe, hire me, puts it in there. One day he gets a call from the president of the company, come to his office, and he's like, oh, here we go. We're going to get fired, whatever. Goes in, sits down, and the president's like, Dwayne, we've been getting your suggestions every day, and it looks like you have some talent. Where did you go to school? And he's like, well, go to community college right now. I'm not really, doing footwear design, but, I love it, and I obviously have talent and whatnot. And he's like, well, how would you like a job? And so at 19 years old, he became an entry-level footwear designer at LA Gear. And then when we interviewed him, he was the footwear design director for the Jordan brand at Nike. So he's like at the pinnacle of his profession at this point. Very, very cool story. I think that it really embodies that ownership because there's so many different roadblocks that could stand in our way from going after something. And Dwayne's story is like, he could have given up so many different points. Like, he could have been discouraged when that counselor's like, you should just really consider going off in a different direction. When Reebok, shut the door on him, he could have just given up there. Like, there's so many different points that all of us can give up on our own aspirations, our own dreams. And really, it's like that belief in what you want to do and taking ownership on that really makes it happen. So, ownership's the first thing. I also have a couple other quotes that I really enjoyed from the road. The first one is, "Who cares if you're the clown as long as you can dance in the circus?" I thought that was a pretty powerful one because it's like sometimes you look really foolish coming out to the world with your ideas and your aspirations and stuff like that. But the clown in the circus is like the silliest, least talented dude in the whole thing, but still is in the circus. And so, that's a pretty powerful thing if you think about it. It's like, who cares if no one believes in what I got to do? Like, I'm still doing it. That's what ownership's all about. We can't find and explore a passion sitting on our couch watching Survivor, kind of like that one. Practice instead of contemplating. I like that one a lot because we can get wrapped up in our own heads and we're almost like our own worst enemies going after something. But if you just start doing stuff and actually practicing it and moving forward instead of just thinking about it, there's something really powerful to that as well. And then think about what's next instead of what should I do with my life. I think a lot of us at this stage, graduation's approaching, thinking about what do I want to do with my life. And it's really, what do I want to do after graduation? What do I want to do in February? What do I want to do in March? What's the next step that ultimately leads to the place that you want to be? So, second one is risk. And, a lot of people are risk averse because there's some really scary stuff that comes with risk. It's very real. Because risk is when you have something to lose, but you decide to go all in anyway. And, with me, it was when my boss, decided to give me a raise or whatever when I was quitting my job, that's a pretty tough thing to walk away from. More money, job security, there's a lot of real things that you're giving up there, but deciding to go all in anyway is the best indicator that you really believe in something. And it's amazing that pretty much every single person that we talked to on the whole trip, there came a point where they really had to give up something to continue their whole pursuit of a passion. And I think that ultimately, every one of us, if we decide to go down this route, will come to a point where you have to risk something and give up something to go all in. And one of the people that we interviewed was this tattoo artist in Venice Beach, and he had this thing called the All Done Club. And by the way, that's our buddy Noah getting a tattoo during the interview. Pretty sweet. So he had this thing called the All Done Club, and he had a quote that really stuck out to me that I really enjoyed, which was, he's like, look guys, like, I could have been a banker, and like right now, you guys could be a banker in 5 years, like if you want. I can't, because I've decided that being a tattoo artist is what I want to do, and to symbolize that, I actually got tattoos on my hands, because if I'm a banker, and I have tattoos on my hands, there's no way I'm going to get a job. Like, no one will ever trust me. Like, hey, give me your money. Not a chance. So that was like his real conscious decision of going all in on something and being like, this is it for me, this is what I'm going to do. Now, I'm not saying go get tattoos on your hands or whatever if you're going to be a tattoo artist, but I think that it's like a pretty good symbolic thing that really stuck out to me, the All Done Club.